what inspired you to write this book, A Weekend Hindu?
Being in US the whole time, I had seen everything firsthand. I had seen how the diaspora behaves. I was one of them. I was a weekend Hindu.
Was there a tendency to blend and become American and drift away from being a Bharatiya?
A bunch of hyenas are running behind you. The only thing that matters is how fast you're running compared to the hyenas. Anybody who has known an NRI or anybody who is an NRI will relate to more than half of the things that are happening. They will say either I have seen this happening or this has happened to me. If everybody in the club is wearing sari, then the one person who's not wearing a sari will become odd one out.
What awakened or triggered Neil in A Weekend Hindu to come back to his roots, to come back to what he believes in?
Oh, you have to read the book for that.
Hari Om everyone and welcome to Stories and Chants. We have here with us today Varun Kulkarni, the creator of a channel called Breathing History on YouTube and Instagram. He is a first-time author of an amazing book called A Weekend Hindu, a must-read for all Indians who are staying inside and outside of Bharat. Hari Om Varun, welcome to Stories and Chants.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming here. I was very excited to read your book, The Weekend Hindu, a very fresh but painful take on what is happening. I also would like to ask you, so you are living the Indian tech dream. You did your post-graduation there. You worked over there. So you're the ideal son-in-law material for a lot of Indian families who are living here and there. When you did your graduation, post-graduation over there, how did you hold on to your ideals? How did you hold on to your identity?
Thank you so much for having me, Sapna ji, first of all. So, I don't know if it is still an Indian tech dream anymore, especially after COVID. So, if you look at the statistics, after 2020, the willingness of the tech workers, so IT workers, trying to go or wanting to go to US there has been a steep fall in that statistics. For example, like 20 to 25% less willingness to go to US and work because the work here, the incentives here, the money here in that industry in India is much better. And also the lifestyle and worker can live here is much better than US, and they have realized this. So I don't know if that's a tech dream anymore, just a point. So for people who still go there, the question is still valid, and I was one of them. What worked for me to come back to this, into my roots from going all the way far left in today's terminologies and kind of being a liberal is that I got the combination of spiritual clarity and political awareness. I think it's a very weird combination, and nobody would say that political awareness will bring you back or to your roots, but spiritual clarity, that combination was magic that worked for me. So when I started doing my sadhana, when I got initiated by my guru, and when I started also making myself aware of what is going on around myself and around not just US but India and the combination of geopolitics. So that combination works, and that is when you are trying to understand what is going on below the surface, what is going on behind the scenes of what is being shown to you. So you stop believing everything at face value. And that's basically Sanatana Dharma, right? They try to the pursuit of truth. So you question everything, but not with skepticism. You're trying to really know what is going on. So that is when you're able to see through the propaganda, and that is when you understand that what is going on and what is being shown to us is there are totally two different things. So that helps. That really helps.
So you said that you got into geopolitics. You're an engineer by profession. How did geopolitics interest you, and how did it get you back to your roots? That's a very interesting thing. I've never heard of a person saying politics got me back into my roots.
No. So geopolitical awareness and spiritual clarity, the combination is important. The reason I say geopolitics is because I happened to start volunteering with a YouTube channel called String Reveals for people who know, but it got deleted from YouTube for whatever reasons. So I was volunteering with String Reveals, which was a very investigative type of work that we were doing. So my first assignment was to start researching on Delhi riots that happened. So Delhi riots, when I started reading, not the things that you see in the mainstream news media, but you try to find out more info, like police reports, court judgments, and then there are so many people who did actual investigative journalism on that. Those things that you don't see just by Googling it. So when you read the details of that, then it's sometimes ignorance is bliss. That is when I actually lived it. I was better off not knowing the details because they were so horrendous. When you know those things and then you see what is being shown to you on the mainstream media and you see the difference, to be able to comprehend that difference, that ability comes from spiritual clarity, right? And then you see how the dots are connected, and it's not just India. You can't just say that it just happened in a specific area in Delhi. Then you are able to connect the dots in how things are connected. And so it's in today's date, nothing happens in isolation anymore. There are strings being pulled from all over the place. And that is what String Reveals was about. We were trying to connect the dot, following the money trail. There's a reason it got deleted. That gave me an understanding of this. This is what is going on. If I don't have the spiritual clarity, I would never be able to see those things the way I had. Then I continued my sadhana. And then when I understood, because the sadhana is what is helping me see this, then where is the sadhana coming from? It is our own practices, right? The Sanatana practices, the yoga practices. So when you understand and you reap the benefits of them, you are living the benefits of them, why not will you learn more about it? I was already in the habit of trying to learn more and more and more about it. So I saw that video by Yuri Bezmenov. That is like, if I would recommend anybody to watch it if they haven't. Every single second of that video is worth it. That is the best time you will spend on YouTube. It's available for free on YouTube. If you just look up Yuri Bezmenov, ideological subversion, on how the society is subverted, that is when you'll understand how the society has been worked upon for years, and it is very methodical. That is when we understood how the school books were altered with a very specific agenda. So he mentions all the 4 steps on how it was done, and then you can see the results right now. So those things which will like blow my mind on how, and it was hard to comprehend because I was like ignorant before this, right? I would believe what is shown on any news media. So at the same time, doing sadhana helped, and I was seeing the benefits. So I continued doing that, learning more and more about it, reading more and more about it. It was just like, it doesn't make sense to live like my way or the highway type of ideology. We are more accepting. So when we call Sanatan is old and traditional, I think it is of the future, because that is the only sustainable way of moving forward.
So it is like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Yes.
The whole world is one family. Everybody is connected.
Yes.
So what inspired you to write this book, A Weekend Hindu?
So as I mentioned, I was volunteering with String until that got closed. And then I started my own platform called Breathing History. Breathing History I started because I already had the knowledge of running a YouTube channel and what it takes and how to do it. And to be honest, I also had the equipment at home. So I'm like, okay, I have to use it. So why not start that? But then after, that is done for 3 years, we ran it. I was like, okay, what next do I do? Do I want to just be a YouTuber and keep making content? I'm not discounting being a YouTuber. You can do phenomenal amount of impact. But I wanted to do something else also at the time. So then writing a book became a very natural next step. Being in US the whole time, I had seen everything firsthand. I had seen how the diaspora behaves. I was one of them. I was a weekend Hindu. I am not saying that, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody and saying that you are one, I was one, but if I can come out of it, anybody can come out of it. That's the point. If I want to take my word and I go on different platforms and speak what I have to speak, if it's worth it, people will listen. If they like it, they will listen. And even if it can make any magnitude of effect and impact in the society in a good way, I was fine with it. So book was a way to find that platform, find that audience, and so that the audience can give me a chance to put my word in front of them. That was the intent and the reason to come up with this. The way I coined that term was just through a conversation, because in US we do everything on weekends. Because weekdays we are too busy with office work and groceries and do dishes and all that. We don't have the luxury of maids there. Most of us don't. So weekends are the only time when we get to be who we are, which we are Hindus. So that's why the term came up.
The Weekend Hindu.
The Weekend Hindu.
Was there a tendency to blend and become American and drift away from being a Bharatiya, drift away from being a Hindu?
In my journey to US?
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely. As I said before, I was I was too much on the left, too much of a liberal before for a long time. It happened because of the environment I was in. And for me, it happened a little bit extra because the first flight I've ever been on was the flight to US. Before that, I was never even got an opportunity. I come from a middle class family. So getting on a flight was a big deal back in 2008. And so I landed in Oklahoma. To give you a context, Oklahoma is kind of in the Midwest area of US, and it is considered an evangelical Bible Belt where there is a very prominent presence of staunch Christian followers. They're very nice people, but they're Christians, very strong Christians. So you have that is what you're surrounded with, right? So I have personally known a lot of people, a lot of my friends who went on the other side because of very enticing opportunities. So, but for some reason I stayed. I don't know why, but I stayed because there were a lot of opportunities for me to go on the other side, because that would have been more attractive, more enticing. I was not a very, what today you would call a Kattar Hindu, but I didn't go. I thought like, okay, that is one thing I will not compromise on. But I did everything else also, being a liberal, right? And non-vegetarian stuff and all of that. The effect that you see is because of our tendency, that what we have talked about in what we are taught in our childhood is don't stick out too much. Like we conform to where we are, like, and which is a good thing. Like, we don't want to disturb wherever we are going. We don't want to disturb things too much, and that's like tendency to not disturb the nature too much. So,
yes.
But that kind of extrapolates yourself to the society also. When we go, we try to like slowly go in, smooth in, sneak in, not stick out too much, right? In that, we try to blend in too much, and so if you are with friends and everybody eats beef and you're like, no, I'm a vegetarian, I don't want to be the one who's always like, Arey, ye to vegetarian, because of him we have to do the different things and all this. It's just not our tendencies. So sometimes it works against us, right? We should be rooted and we should say like, no, this is not what we're going to do. Unapologetic. But that term was not there back then. So I gave in. But there was definitely an influence, and it will happen. And it is happening more and more. The influence is becoming stronger and stronger if you're not rooted properly.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is shocking. I thought it was coming back.
It's like it is coming back. What matters is if you look at the context. So it is like, let's say you're a bunch of hyenas are running behind you after your life. Now you can console yourself that, look, I haven't ran for so long, but I'm running this fast. I've never ran. I have pain in my knee. I'm still running. Whatever stories you tell yourself, the only thing that matters is how fast you're running compared to the hyenas, if you want your life. So yes, we are coming back. Yes, it is happening. The consciousness, the Shakti is coming back. It is coming back. But the context that we have to look at is it fast enough compared to how aggressively the other side is growing? And so no, there is no parameter or no equipment that can measure it. You can only feel it and see it around you. So when you see what is happening in Europe, when you see what is happening in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, in Europe, in Australia, and New Zealand, like all over the world, you have to just get an subjective idea of how fast are we coming up? Like,
it's not fast enough.
Right? So when we say that we are coming back, we just have to see, are we running fast enough or not?
At what point in your NRI journey did you start missing being a Hindu, being a Bharatiya?
It happens a lot, actually. Every year it happens. And it also has to do with the life that I have led when I was in India. So small things you'll notice is, let's say in Diwali. In Diwali, it used to happen that maybe a couple of weeks before the day of Diwali, we started cleaning our house. My mom used to be on my case, do this, you have to do this. And Diwali means like deep cleaning of the house and all this. Nothing like that happens there. So the Diwali happens, you don't even notice it unless something is happening in the temple. So you start seeing that, okay, Diwali happened, but we didn't do anything in the days leading up to it. Small things like that. Like in Holi, we used to play Holi all day and we would be missing from home with my friends. In US, what will happen is you go to a temple or some close by ground or a park or something. You play for a couple of hours and you come back, you take pictures and come back and dance on Bollywood songs and come back. It's, and mostly, I'm not going to say that it was maybe Bollywood songs. It's for sure Bollywood or movie songs. You go and play and dance. Some performances will happen. You put color and you come back. The essence of that, that feeling of Holi, is missing somewhere. So if you look at statistics, you will see that Holi is being celebrated, Diwali is being celebrated, Garba is being celebrated, but it's very superficial. Is it actually being celebrated for what it actually means? Right? You would never say in India that let me go and celebrate Diwali and come back. Diwali is what you celebrate throughout your day, like throughout your weeks that leading up to it, right? You don't do that and come. It's not a movie you go and watch and come back. That is how it is being celebrated in Diwali. So in US. So I feel it a lot because I did a lot of that when I was in India. So even small Rakhi, we used to have so many people at home. We used to have such a big family. Everybody was here. It used to be one of the things that we used to look forward to months ahead of time. But there it doesn't happen. Maybe now we just email a e-Rakhi or somebody like. So my hands used to be full all the way up to here. My cousins, we used to all compete how full your hand is in Rakhi. But it kind of disappeared. So the next generation might not even understand the magnitude and the importance of how Rakhi is being celebrated.
Or why it is being celebrated.
Yeah. So, you feel it every now and then. And I definitely felt it on every festival.
So that triggered you.
Oh, yes.
To come back to your roots also.
Definitely. It kind of nudges you, keeps poking you that you need to do something. Yes.
So it is interesting, the thought of living abroad and becoming a Hindu only during the weekends or only when the family comes to visit you is when you are actually a Hindu. So can you tell us more about your first book? How did it come out? What inspired you to be that author, to write such a book?
The book was definitely, as I said, the natural step that I wanted to do something else now. After working for String Reveals and then starting Breathing History, running it for some time. And then I thought, again, I wanted to take my words to as many people as possible, my thoughts. And I wanted people to understand and read certain types of book like R.C. Majumdar or Sri Sitaram Goyalji or Sanjeev Sanyal or Jadunath Sarkar. So the kids nowadays are reading books a lot. So it kind of goes against the general thinking that nobody is reading books now and they're only scrolling. That's not true. The schools there in US, Australia, New Zealand, outside schools at least, they are encouraging book reading a lot. And kids are reading a lot and really fast and it's very impressive. So they are reading. But they're reading some different content, but you want them to read this. For them to come from this point to this point, they needed a stepping stone. I wanted a Weekend Hindu to be that bridge between reading from what they're reading to what we want them to read. Because I'm pretty confident once they start reading Vikram Sampath, Sanjeev Sanyal, R.C. Majumdar, those phenomenal authors, there is no power in the world that can brainwash them. No propaganda that they cannot see through. It is just the matter of them getting there. So I hope Weekend Hindu becomes that stepping stone for them to start reading that. So just a little bit push towards that type of books. Just plant that seed of curiosity a little bit into them.
It's an amazing thought and I hope it really works.
I hope so.
Tell us more about the story behind the book, the story of the book and the journey of writing the book.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was very tough writing the book. I was fortunate to have a lot of my friends help and act as a sounding board or help me rephrase stuff or how to, position certain incidents which doesn't make sense to make the story flow a little bit better. The story, because the reason we wanted to have a book that is more relatable to kids is because we don't want to be a preaching book. We didn't want to tell them that this is right, this is wrong, don't do this. Because then the generation right now, they need logic. They need to know why first of all, who are you to tell us to do this or not do this? And two, what is the reason for doing this or not doing this, right? So that is why the book is written in such a way that it's a story of a person or the main character is called Neil, who's a young kid who goes to US to kind of get away from all the problems that he's having in India, because getting away will solve all the problems, and live the American dream, make a lot of money, and then that will finish all the problems. And that is the understanding before going, right? Getting away from, escape the problems. So he goes there, and when he lands, he sees a lot of his university students, his friends, he forms new friendships, a lot of American friends, a lot of Americanized Indian friends who have been there, who are more American than Americans. They kind of influence his thought process and how they kind of pull him from one side to other. And because he doesn't have the type of grounding to stick to where he wants to be, or stick to his word or his traditions, he gets swayed a lot. So first he meets his first friend who kind of takes him to one side, little bit on the left and maybe a little bit deeper than Shamli. And then he meets another girl whose name is Bhanushri, and how they both influence him and takes him deeper into the left and that type of ideology, where he starts looking down on his own culture, gets ridiculed by his own parents and embarrassed by his own parents. But then the third girl, how she brings him back and giving him the answers that he was subconsciously looking for. And that is what was lacking, the clarity that the third character was able to provide. So it's the story of how he goes through this emotional swing of like one side to the other. And all the things, I'm sure anybody who has known an NRI or anybody who is an NRI will relate to more than half of the things that are happened. They will say either I have seen this happening or this has happened to me. So they will all be relatable things, not foreign, that it happens somewhere. So we wanted it to be more relatable story, entertaining story, and sprinkled with the ideas and ideologies. As I said, like a stepping stone towards the right type of books.
Who is a Hindu? And what are the criterias that make one a Hindu? Is it only by birth that you are a Hindu? What is it that makes one a Hindu, according to you?
Yeah, definitely. Because there are great people who have come before us who have kind of defined what Hindu means. And it is definitely not just by birth, because we are pretty accepting. We work on attracting people towards us instead of forcefully threatening people to come towards us in the Hindu fold. But it doesn't matter whose definition you go by. Like if you look at what Swami Vivekananda said, who is a Hindu is somebody who keeps Veda as the authority or respects Veda as an authority. Sri Aurobindo said that. Swami Dayanand Saraswati also mentioned that if you live a righteous life, if you consider Veda as the authority. But interestingly, if you see, Adi Shankaracharya never even used the word Hindu. He always talked about Sanatana Dharma. It doesn't matter what definition you go by. I think you're going to arrive at the same spot. Because some people say, oh, Hindu is just a geographical identity, which is, okay, if you go by that, that's also fine. But in that geography, what type of thought process, what type of Vedic lifestyle they were. When you say Vedic lifestyle, they were following Vedas. That is, doesn't matter which thought process you go by, which person you follow. If you like Swami Vivekananda more than Sri Aurobindo, you follow them. You're going to end up at the same, and that's the crux or the core of what Hindu philosophy is anyways. So according to me, I don't subscribe to any one of the gurus, because pretty much saying following one means discarding others, and I'm nobody to discard those great beings. So I'm just going to go by everything that they have said is correct and accurate. And just go by the definition of Sanatana Dharma, which Sanatan means like it has been everlasting and which will last forever and which has lasted forever. And in a very loose way, if you say Dharma means the laws. So the laws that are guiding us, the only thing we can do is bow down and respect. And because let's say you don't like gravity, you say that I'm against gravity, does not matter, because I don't care which philosophy you follow, which my way or the highway tradition you follow, if you are a Hindu or not, gravity is going to work the exact same way on you.
Exactly.
So those are some of the universal laws that we follow and we respect, because you cannot overcome that. The Panchabhutas, even today, is the 5 basic elements. We have technologically advanced so much today, but we still do not have any sort of handle on those Panchabhutas, right? If the earth decides to have an earthquake, there is nothing you can do about it. You can make as big of a mansion as you want. It will take a second. If the ocean decides to bring a tsunami or flood or whatever happens. So I can go on for all 5 of them, right? It's the only thing you can do is live in harmony with that and with them and respect them, because you don't want them to overpower you, because you definitely cannot. That's a losing battle. So that I feel is that understanding, whoever has that understanding would automatically be drawn towards the Sanatana Dharma mindset.
What are the defining aspects, especially for people like Neil, who are pressured to abandon their roots, drift away from their roots?
There are a lot, some small, some big, and there are a bunch of them mentioned in the book also. I'll give you one example that happens a lot, and that personally happened to me as well. So the culture there is the parents, when the kid is 18-year-old, the parents ask them to go out and they live on their own. For that culture, for that mindset, for the way the society is built there, it makes sense, because in a way it's also good, because the kid has to be self-sufficient. They are forced to be self-sufficient, and there are opportunities like that there as well. And then living with your parents, or parents living with you, are looked down upon. But in India, it's not like that. Parents living with their kids, and I mean, kids should be considering that as their good fortune if parents are living with them. I consider myself pretty unfortunate that I don't get to live with my parents all the time. I would never say that they live with me. I always live with them. But that is one of the things that is not pretty. They don't understand this. So when I was in US and my parents would come to visit me, the longest you can stay in US on a tourist visa is 6 months. So they would stay for as long as they can, right? 5.5 months, 6 months, whatever, because they were able to take times out of work, or they were able to work from there, whatever the condition was. But I would love that they are staying with me. But everywhere in my work and all that, when I tell them that they're there, and they'll be like, okay, so how long they're there for? And I would tell them they're here for 6 months. And they'll be like, what? How are you living with them for 6 months? They're going to be with you for 6 months. So it just didn't jive in their heads, because it doesn't make sense to them, which is fine. What we have to understand, it is good for them. It is how they grow up. That is, even in the same city, they take appointments to meet each other. We can't even understand that. We can't comprehend that type of behavior, right? But that doesn't mean we give in to that. But that is the type of pressure that is very real. People say that, oh, they start talking like that, like, oh yeah, my mom's here for like so long. Oh, my dad won't go. So it is common, because now they want to like look cool and be like that, because otherwise they look down upon, like, oh, he lives with his mom. So and this is like, it's such a small thing. You can look at it as such a big thing that you're pretty much embarrassed that your mom is staying with you. And that, I think, is a big deal. Slowly, what is next? Like, you will be embarrassed to go out with her to a store. So this is just one example, like things like that. And that happens with Neil. That has happened with me also. And I'm sure it happens with a lot of people.
I feel that what you have just described is not only happening in the US, it is happening in India too. So what is your opinion on that?
It is shocking, and it's pretty sad that it's happening. And in the race of being cool, we are trying to do all this because we want to be, try to be cool with our friends and all this. But I go back to that basic understanding of what is cool. Let's say, if we want to be cool, what is cool? Cool is basically just what all of us consider okay or acceptable. So if just 5 or 6 of us live in a society, or it's just 5 of us, then whatever we think is okay becomes cool, right?
Yes.
So basically, we just have to get that critical mass to agree upon that this is good and this is not okay, or this is okay, or this is fine, whatever. So if living with your mom is cool by majority of the people, then you won't have a problem. So it is just that reaching that critical mass who thinks like that. It is just that majority of the people don't think like that. That is why it is considered uncool. And you can use any example, like if you wear a sari to a club, if everybody in the club is wearing sari, then the one person who's not wearing a sari will become odd one out. It is just that not enough people are doing that. So that's why that one person who's wearing a sari becomes odd one out, and she's being kicked out of the clubs. And it is happening in India, right?
Yes, it is.
In India, it is happening. If it is in US, it happens, or in Australia, it happens, is understandable. So if it is happening in India, which is happening in India, which I think it's very alarming and sad.
The influence of the West is so strong on the people over here. How do you get them to cut off that influence?
So for that, you have to watch that video by Yuri Bezmenov. I would suggest everybody should watch that, because there's a very common thing that goes on in Twitter right now, that that phrase is like, they're coming after your kids, which is so apt that you look at every tool that is being built right now, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, any social media. It is so addictive.
Yes.
And the kids are being influenced by that. When you see celebrities doing certain things, and people of influence, not just movie celebrities, cricketers, or anybody who's doing certain, and people are blindly following them. So it is because of the hype and the narrative that is being created, right? So again, it's about the narrative. If enough people create the different type of narrative, then that will be the one that will influence the society. So it is only, I think the only problem is that not enough people are creating that narrative.
You need that one person to think it is okay not to be cool.
Yeah, that is all. Because then what they do will become cool.
Yes.
That is all.
There is a tendency for newer ideologies to come in and change the narrative and start saying that anything Bharatiya is unscientific, is illogical. They take you away from the roots. So what influenced or what swayed Neil to get distracted and walk away from his roots, especially when these roots are thousands of years old and they're still striving?
Yeah.
So what could be so strong that he could walk away?
I would say do not underestimate the power of peer pressure, first of all. And second is, you answered my question that it was scientific. It is scientific. But he didn't have the answers to him. He was told that do as I say, do as we say, just do it, don't worry about it and all that. So he didn't have the answers to them. So when it was questioned that why do you do this and why do you not do this, he didn't have the answers to them. So once you don't have an answer, you cannot explain, and this generation wants to be able to logically be right, that if I'm doing this, this is why I'm doing it. If they don't have an answer, they will be like, okay, it doesn't make sense for me to do this. So they'll walk away from it. So it happens a lot that you will be questioned, your culture will be questioned, your traditions will be questioned. You have to be able to stand your ground and say, this is why I do this is why I don't do this. Just because majority of the people around me thinks it doesn't make sense, does not make them right.
But it's something that even I believe in. If you don't ask why, you will never get your answer. And the previous generation, especially our parent generation, were never supposed to ask why. And then when we asked our parents why, we used to just get a whack in the back saying, I told you to do it, so just go and do it.
Correct.
When you were writing this book, how did you approach the debate in this book between modern liberal ideologies and traditional Hindu way of life?
So when you say modern liberal ideology, that itself is against by definition, liberal means something that is against traditional, right? And the versus wala jo concept hai, Hindu ideology doesn't have that versus, because I'm not going to fight with you because you don't agree with what I say or what. So we don't even believe in that versus wala concept. The liberal is something that, hey, you are thinking this way, you are wrong, I'm the only one right? The other my way or the highway type of traditions that everybody knows. So that happens a lot. But if you really understand the concept of traditional Hindu concept, you will never say that he is wrong and I am the only one right, because again, it is his way of thinking. As long as he is not coming and harming me, that is when we draw the line, and that is understandable. Yes. Just because you have a different opinion about things doesn't make you right or wrong. It's just what you think, it's fine. I don't mind. So Neil also, when different types of opinions were presented to him, he was open to it. But that didn't work for him, because then he gave in to that type of mindset. What he should have said, okay, if you are doing it, that's fine. I'm not stopping you from doing it. You want to eat beef, you want to eat camel, you want to eat giraffe, eat whatever you want. Don't force me to eat what I want to eat, or why should I not eat. That is a line that he could not draw. That is the lack of understanding that we had, that Neil had.
There is a very major secular agenda that is doing the rounds right now. The moment you stand up for being Hindu, you are called anti-secular. What is your take and what is your opinion on this?
I don't mind being called anti-secular, because I think the definition of secular is being also modified or screwed, or it's a very twisted definition of it. And I'm pretty sure people who call us that, they don't even understand what secularism means, because half of them won't even know what secularism means, how it started, what is the definition of it. Basically, you are trying to have a government separate from your religious organization. They should not interfere. So what I would call myself as anti-pseudo-secularism. I don't want the government to control the temples and the temples to have any influence on the government. But this selective secularism is what I'm against. So yes, you have to stand up for this, because I would say, just like the governments are controlling the temples right now, how is that secularism? Because that goes against the very definition of secularism, how it started. So I'm saying, if the government wants to control the temple, it is fine, then control all the religious organizations.
Exactly.
If you don't want to control the temples, then if you're not controlling anything else, then don't control the temples. That's this selective secularism is what we are against. So I should say, don't call me anti-secular, call me anti-pseudo-secular.
Does the immense pressure on immigrants to be successful financially and professionally make them want to shed their cultural identity?
Totally. I think it's a very immense amount of influence because one, we grow up, the middle class grows up to be, you have to become a manager, where is your promotion, what is the salary, there's immense amount of pressure from the family, and then it is not built into the routine of a professional. You get up in the morning, you go to office, you come back, you do grocery, you do dinner, you wash dishes, and you go to sleep, in the sense that the environment is not supportive for that. If everybody in the office is asking you, did you do your sadhana today? Did you do your yoga? What yoga are you doing? Anything like that. That type of conversations are not happening. So there is no influence from the peer pressure or from your peers to do that, to follow that. So why would I? The only thing that we are talking about is what is the cricket score or what is football or what parks have you been. So it is immense amount of pressure that you have to be up to speed with what is going on to be a part of the conversation. If you're the only one doing sadhana and coming, nobody is there to talk about it. You are only going, but your self-motivation is going to run out after some time. If, on the other hand, if everybody is talking about it in the office, then you exchange ideas, you talk about it, it becomes a norm. So you're not the single one doing
You have
this.
a supportive team around you who help you to grow.
Correct.
So that's what they call satsang.
Satsang, exactly.
Yes.
That it doesn't happen there.
Many Hindu organizations are working very hard to change the tide. But according to you, is it getting worse or is it getting better?
It's definitely getting better, for sure. Like I said before, I don't know if it's getting better fast enough or not, but there is significant amount of work that has been done. So statistically, if you look at it, there are more than 1,000 temples in just in US, in 50 states. But are the things that are being done in the temple are up to the mark or not? That's a different conversation. But they are being built, right? Organizations like HSS, Chinmaya Mission, BAPS, they are doing phenomenal amount of work on grassroots level, in the societal level. They call it the Karma Bhumi level. They're doing it. So whatever work is being done, we have to thank organizations like those that are doing significant amount of work, especially with the kids. Chinmaya Mission has done phenomenal work with the kids. And HSS is doing work with the families and all that. So all of them are being covered.
What awakened or triggered Neil in A Weekend Hindu to come back to his roots, to come back to what he believes in?
Oh, you have to read the book for that. That is the
Spoiler.
the crux of it. Yeah, I know.
What specific observations or experiences inspired you to write about the various situations in that book, A Weekend Hindu?
Just my own experiences in my daily life. So, for example, let's say I have a circle of 100 friends. Out of those hundreds friends, I don't think I can have this conversation that I'm having with you about Dharma, about yoga, about Sanatan, with even 5 of them. All the NRIs there, I call it in the book as a NRI bubble. They live in that bubble. I mean, you can define pretty much 95% of NRIs, or they should have a good house or houses. They should buy a Tesla. They should have a Costco membership. They should have visited all the national parks on long weekends. And they should be up to speed with what's going on with IPL and if they have gotten good deals or not on Amazon or what is going on lately with all the Black Friday deals or whatever. That's their focus. And Bollywood and Hollywood, they're up to speed with that. I mean, this sums up 95% of NRI population pretty much, or 95% of their conversations. You can't even have these geopolitical, Sanskritic or Dharmic or Adhyatmic conversations with them. So this is what those incidences are what shaped them. Like this, a lot of people must be facing this, right? You go to the room and there are so many people, but you don't have anything to talk to because you're not up to speed with what's going on in IPL. I feel left out so often because I don't follow any of those things.
And it does influence because when you feel left out is when you start getting lonely. And that is what inspires you to walk away from your path. Who is this book for and who will connect to the story and Neil's journey in this book?
So I think all the youngsters from, I would say 14 or 15 to 20, 23 years old, they should relate to this more, especially if they are aspiring to go for GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, IELTS, and go out of the country, get away from the problems. They will just at least get a good picture of what it will be like when they get there. So they get a preview of how it will be. The second set of readers who would really relate to this are people who are already outside, all the NRIs, because everything in the book they will read, more than half of it will be relatable to them or has happened to them. And at least that'll give them a reason to stop and think about what they're doing on a daily basis. Pretty much like, we go through our routine so much so that it's like sleepwalking. We don't even think about why are we doing this. But the whole life should not be a sleepwalk, right? We should be conscious about what we're doing.
Yes.
So this content, this story should make them stop and think about and question what they're doing, why they're doing. So for example, if they're supporting and watching Bollywood movies, that's their routine. Every Saturday we go to Bollywood movies. Is it really helping? What is the cost of that entertainment that you're gaining? So maybe that will have them stop and think for a second.
And this is exactly that is happening even in the major metropolitan cities in India. And I hope they also read this book and are influenced by it.
Right.
With successful entrepreneur and politician like Vivek Ramaswamy, who is sticking to his roots, who takes pride in his roots, this will inspire all of the others also to be with their culture, to walk their culture, to be with their roots. What do you think? Will that happen?
May or may not, because I don't think politicians should be our benchmark of following or not following, because it should be the other way around. Politicians should follow what the society wants, because they want your vote. So if you like your culture, they'll try to associate themselves with that. And today it could be this, tomorrow it could be something else. So it should be the other way around. The society should demand or ask or act how the politicians, because that's where the politicians come from the society. So we should not follow what a politician is doing. Politicians should follow what the society is doing. But so if there are enough people following it, he will be a staunch Hindu.
According to you, what are the 3 aspects that one can follow to stick to one's roots, to follow one's culture, and to be true to being a Bharatiya?
Well, I think to be a Bharatiya or follow our Sanatana Dharma wherever they are, they need to make sure that the generations coming forward are rooted properly. And for that, we should be able to give them all the reasons and all the logics. If you don't know that, find it with them or give them resources to be able to encourage them to find it. Let them read as much as possible. Second is, you have to make sure that you are supporting as many dharmic organizations as possible within your means. You decide how much you can support, which organization to support, but support a dharmic organization that is doing the work for you, for the society. And the third is the kids and the next generation and yourself also. You should very critically analyze the circle that you keep, the company that you keep, because the satsang, as you mentioned before, is what defines who you are going to be, the type of thought process you are going to be, the thought process that you're going to have. So the kids the parents' responsibility is to make sure they analyze the circle, the company that the kids are keeping. And same goes for the parents also. You should also define and analyze your circle. Once you have that type of circle, that's the type of circle kids will grow up in. And so slowly it will spread.
Very nice. How do you continue to remind, inspire, and bring back the youngsters to take pride in their culture, to take pride in being who they are, to love who they are, to study more, to know more? How will you do that?
If it was up to me, the only thing I can understand is we can preach our kids as much as possible. We can teach them as much as possible. But the only thing they learn and look and or look up to is what you're doing, not what you're saying. I don't think they listen to what you're saying. They because if it contradicts, then you lost your respect in front of them, right? So we can only teach them by actually following it, by living it in a tradition. Like Chanakya said, I'm not quoting him, but just what my understanding is, what he said, that a culture is only followed, or the culture is only preserved by being followed. Because if it is not followed, then it is not worth preserving. So what is the point of saving a culture, right? So we need to live the culture. We should not talk about yoga, we should do yoga. and we should not talk about our festivals. We should celebrate our festivals to the best we can. And for NRIs, I think they should do even extra, because the environment is not like that. So they have to do even extra for their kids, so that their kids understand what Diwali is, they understand what Holi is, they understand what Navratri is. They should go out of their way to do even extra. So they have to live it for the kids to follow it. Talking about it is not going to help.
Very beautifully said. So I hope a lot of people do go and buy the book A Week in Hindu, because I think we all need to read it. It is not only happening outside of India, it is happening within our country too, amongst our friends, our families, our circles. And we all need to know why is this happening, what is happening, and how can we stop this? How can we rush back to our culture? How can we rush back to our roots? I think this is extremely important. Thank you so much, Varunji, for being here.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you. It was an honor having you here. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.